What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Faithful Agent Podcast. I've got Chaffin Donofrio on here today. She is the founder and CEO of the KCD Team of Long & Foster and host of the Soul Inspiring Business Podcast. And total transparency, we just spent the last hour talking pre-show, which is amazing. And then I realized, wait a minute, we probably should record something. So, Kara, I am so glad you're here. We're going to dive in here in just a second, but a super quick introduction. So she has a real estate team, the KCD team, serving the DC metro area to Annapolis, Maryland, creator of the Soul Inspiring Business Podcast, as I mentioned. She inspires heart-led entrepreneurs to step into their power and build lives rich in meaning and impact. She's also a mom of 3 and has fully embraced her new role as a soccer mom. Kara, I love it. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm so glad that you're here.
Oh, I am thrilled to be with you and your listeners today. So thank you so much for including me. And yes, we did just spend about an hour talking about business and faith and
so many good
what
things.
are we doing with our lives and where are they going and all of that. And it was awesome. So
it was awesome. We should just pretend to have podcast episodes more often and it'll be beneficial to both of us. That's for sure. Well,
there you go.
I want to jump right in, Kara, because and I was blessed to just be on your show. So go check it out. Soul Inspiring Business Podcast. I love it. The name itself is amazing. But you talk a lot about blending smart strategy with soul alignment. What does that even mean to you?
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting to me is that for so long, I often felt like my faith and spirituality and all these things that were me were very separate from my business. Like I remember I used to meditate and I would I wouldn't even tell my boyfriend at the time, my now husband, what I was doing, or I just put myself away in a room and I would do my affirmations and do my journaling, visualization, but it felt always like this something that was separate from the business. And really there was a lot of it was sort of an epiphany I guess I had back in 2019 that why is this alignment that I've been practicing, which has allowed me to grow the business with grace and ease, why is it so separate? Why is it not something that we talk about more or integrate? It's one of the reasons I love your podcast, The Faithful Agent, and where you can talk about God and how he shows up in our business, because I feel like in truth, if our business is one of the reasons that we're here, it's how we make an impact with our clients, with our community, then what could be more aligned than integrating these kind of two pieces of ourselves or multiple facets of ourselves? And so for me, soul alignment is really about aligning with that part of you, that highest potentiality, that part of you that is accessing your God-given abilities and talents, and then how are you fully utilizing those in your business? Because I think so often, and we even talked about this just pre-show, agents are torn in a lot of different directions. We're sold a lot of shiny, the shiny penny syndrome is so real in our industry. And so we're always kind of chasing these things outside of ourselves versus soul alignment is about getting clear about what it is that you want and then aligning those God-given talents and abilities to what it is that you're doing, and then just going all in on that and allowing that to be part of your strategy.
So
Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. So all right, we talked about this again a little bit pre-show, but I think with how hard the market's been, right, past few years, there's a lot of agents that feel burnout. There's a lot of agents that, I think it's too easy sometimes to say, well, just reconnect with your why. Why are you doing this? What about whatever? I think, again, the name of your podcast is so good, but it's so deep. Like there's something, the depth of what's going on, the meaning of what we're doing, the inspiration, the passion that existed at one point because it was all about X, Y, and Z. And we're on a mission from the Lord to serve, this particular subset, whatever it is, right? That gets lost along the way, I think. And that gets lost whether you're struggling in the industry or whether you start to do really well and you kind of forget what you were doing in the first place. So to the agent Kara, maybe that's struggling right now. Maybe they've been in for a long time and they're doing 20 deals a year. They have a good business, right? It's providing a good life, but they're just kind of meh about it, right? They're just burnout or they're just not passionate again. How do we reignite that? What does that even look like to reignite that soul inspiration in our business?
Mhm. Well, I think first, just kind of setting up the framework too. I believe that everything is energy, and I
Mm,
think that we are operating in the world in both a physical world and a non-physical world.
mhm,
And so I think that's why I connect with a lot of your messages on the Faithful Agent podcast and God, and I speak about that on on my podcast as well.
mm,
But I think that we're doing business in a 5D world. And
mm,
so to just rely on this like hustle and grind, and I'm just going to like plow everything, like I just don't subscribe to that. I think that part of it is really finding alignment and truth and accessing intuition and grounding yourself into where you are. So I think sometimes what I mean by that is sometimes we're just so scattered, like our energy is scattered because we're trying to do a million different things at once. And I mean, I run a busy real estate team. So I definitely have like been in those moments where you just feel like you're kind of churning and what am I doing anyway? What am I doing it all for? Right. But I think that um that it really is about fight like coming back and grounding in to purpose. Um, I think that's done through some different mindfulness exercises and just being grounded in like what we want to create. Now, I agree with you that sometimes this overarching question of like, what's my why? You know,
mhm,
we've all been to so many conferences that it almost has become kind of cliche. Uh, so but I do think that there is an element of, like, knowing why you're here or being grounded in what it is that you're trying to create,
mm,
and coming back to and some of that is just by asking, I think in humbly asking God, "Where would you have me go? Who would you have me serve?" You know? Um, coming back to those questions regularly, having time. I know for me, I have a mindfulness practice and a morning prayer time that just is very sacred.
mm,
And so it's in those moments that I feel like when we're doing business and I would call it a soul inspiring business way, it's that we are always asking for the guidance of where we're supposed to be, of who we're meant to serve. And it's not I'm going to do it once a year when I'm doing my business plan. It is a taking inspired daily action. It
mm,
is asking, and one of the prayers that I love is like, I ask God to bring me the people that I'm most able to help and
mm,
serve and lovingly remove the ones that aren't
mm.
because I don't, then I
Yeah.
truly do feel like I'm led because I think, again, when we are doing business through, um, in a God centered way and with His direction, then we are able to humbly ask, "Hey, these are the things that I would desire, God. Please, you've put this on my heart, so I'm going to trust that they're there for a reason. And then I'm going to ask you to help me throughout the day, help me move in the right directions, help give me the right people that I'm meant to contact, help." And then it's not a to-do list, but it's like an inspired action list,
Mm,
because you're not just ticking off things, but you're doing things that are called with a, an added layer of depth, I would
mm,
say.
mm.
Um, and so I think that I don't know if I even answered your question as I
No,
got on that
no, no.
tangent.
So good.
Um, but but I do believe that it is about alignment with where we're meant to be. And I know for me, one of the things that I've sort of coded into my business, because I think a lot of us agents, business owners, I know we all have different money stories, and I came from a background that my parents didn't have a lot of money. And for a long time, I felt driven by this power to succeed that was very hustle oriented because I was trying to prove my worth.
Mm,
But I think once I came back to this more grounded, centered place of finding my own worth, not in money or success, but just the person God put me here to be,
mm,
it's like everything started to unfold in a different way, in an
mm,
easier way, like coding yourself for abundance because you were put here to experience all that love that God wants you to experience,
mm,
joy, wealth, abundance. And so um that happens, I think, when you humbly submit and ask,
mm,
and then you shall
mm,
receive.
mm. I think it's so two things in particular I love that you said is, well, the first one you made me think of, like, it is true that having success is not nearly as impactful and inspiring as having purpose, right? And so, we fall in line of, well, if this action I'm about to take is not going to make me more money or sell me more homes or whatever, then it must not be the right thing. And and I've fallen prey to that so many times, right? But when we stay committed to that one narrow definition of this is what success is, and if it's not going to bring me more money, if it's not going to bring me more whatever, then I'm not going to do it. That can't be what I'm supposed to do. As opposed to, like you talked about, is asking the Lord, like, well, who do you want me to serve today? And taking meaningful, inspiring actions, right? That may or may not. Like, I think as a Christian, we have to totally accept, like, the Lord, Psalm 127, the Lord builds the house. And so I don't know how big that house is going to be. It's not for me to decide. But if he doesn't, which he's going to, but if I don't let him, quote unquote, then it says that the laborer labors in vain. So there's nothing that is more soul draining than laboring in vain,
Mm,
right? So love that you talk about that. The second part is I love the concept of, it's so true, and it hit me, of it's not something we do once a year where we stop and say, "Okay, God, who am I supposed to serve?" But it's something we do daily, and it both convicted me, right? Because I'm like, man, how often do I actually do that?
mhm.
And actually just sit there and say, "Okay, Lord, who do you want me to serve? Please bring me the people today." It's like I think this is what it's supposed to be, so I kind of just act in that way. But also the conviction of just this morning, my wife and I praying together. Jesus taught us to pray, Lord, give me this day my daily bread. And a lot of us, myself in that right statement, it's like, Lord, give me this yearly bread. Tell me exactly what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to lay it out and then I'm just going to walk in that, right? How does that sound? And he's like, no, the purpose is to remind you of your dependence on me. And so therefore come back for your daily bread. And
Mhm.
so I love that concept, right? Of just asking more consistently. It's nothing that we haven't heard before. It's like the activity though of how do we actually do that and show up and do that, right? So shifting gears just a little bit because I love those things and I think we all need to implement those. But say you've been in for over 20 years, right? You've run big offices, you have a big successful team, you did new construction, you've done a lot of things in this industry. Talk to the agent who's at like that 15 deal a year, 10, 20, whatever, that just feels kind of stuck there and maybe is wondering, great for you, Kara. You run a team and you have a podcast and that's cool. But like, I'm just sitting here at 20 and, I don't have time to do anything else because I'm doing this, I'm doing that, whatever. And they just feel stuck. Like, talk to that agent who I think, and now you tell me, I think they're worried about how do I do more while still being as present at home as I want to be, and they're not sure how to do that, so they just kind of get stuck. But talk
Mhm.
to that agent who's feeling that lack of inspiration. How would you help that person say, let's go to the next level?
Yeah. Well, first, I would say you're not alone. I think we've all been there at some level, where we kind of feel like I was actually just interviewing somebody on the podcast last week, not in real estate, but she was like, I had a burn it all down moment.
Mm,
She said, and she's built this super successful community. She has multiple businesses. And
mm,
she said to me, Kara, I had a moment where I was like, what the heck am I doing? Why am I doing it? I just want to burn it all down. Like, I don't want to
mm,
work anymore. I don't want to
mhm,
do it.
mhm,
So I would say to anybody out there listening that is in a stuck
Mhm.
position, I'm telling you, it is part of I think businesses are there's the build out and burnout
Mm.
phase,
Mm.
right? And I think so many of us think at business as a linear path,
Mm.
and it's very much not. It's very cyclical.
Mm.
And so one of the things I think you and I talked about this on the last on my podcast, but the idea and I want you to visualize a circle,
Mm.
and if you're on the edge of the circle as it's kind of turning, right? Then as things happen, bad, good, right? You're constantly going up and down with the cycle of the business emotionally, right? You've got emotional highs, you've got emotional lows, and I think no other business is more fits this mold than real estate.
Mhm.
But what I would say is like going to the center is where
Mm.
you want to be in the circle, because
Mm.
from that grounded place is where you can move through the ups and downs of the business and with more grace, with more ease. So that
Mm.
kind of is some of those mindfulness and prayer exercises that I talk about a lot on my podcast. But
Mm.
but I would say number one, if you're in that place, you are not alone. You are just part of the natural evolution of the business. And so don't burn it all down.
Mhm. Right.
Uh, and um and know that I believe that all of us have all of the resources available to us. We sometimes just need to know what to say yes to and what
Mm.
to say no to.
Mm.
So, the first thing I would do is go back through your book of business and see where the majority of your business has come from. Number one. So, what are your sources of business? And then number two, what do you really just love doing?
Mm.
What is something that lifts your heart, that gives you joy, that you could do and it sort of doesn't feel like work? Now, sometimes I say that and I'm like, it's not like you know, every day is going to be rosy and
Mhm.
all of that. I mean, of course we're business owners, so we're going to naturally run into things that are hard, but for the most part, if you could be doing these things, it would feel easier, right?
Mm.
Um then focus on like 2 to 3 pillars instead of focusing on what many real estate agents do, which is like all the things that are calling our attention, right? We've
Mhm.
got a million, there are so many different ways to be successful in this business, and it is both a blessing and a curse.
Mm.
And so again, go back and look at what are the things that have brought me business in the past? Where do I just, and if you don't know what your gifts are, start asking people around you or ask God. Say, God, you know what? Can you just make it very clear to me, like crystal clear? I
Mm.
need your help. Can you make it very clear something that I'm supposed to be doing that I'm not?
Mm.
And ask, because sometimes we just forget to ask.
Mm.
And I believe that the answers are always there. It's just sometimes we're looking for the answers out in the front door, and it's like trying to come in the back door. And so
Mm.
our attention's focused on the front door
Mm.
instead of the back door
Yeah.
behind us,
It's
right?
good.
The answers will come. They just may not be coming in the package you expect.
Mm.
So, but I think if you can boil it down to like, here are the, 2 to 3 things that I can focus on consistently that I actually enjoy doing. And I'll give an example because I just know for me, I hate cold calling. I
Mm.
hate it.
Mm.
I never have done it.
Mhm.
Um, and not that I couldn't, I'm sure I
Mm.
could if I really wanted to, but it doesn't bring me joy.
Yeah.
Uh, and so what I was really good at is because I started in new home construction. I worked at a model home for 4+ years, and I did an open house basically every single day. I mean, that's what you do when you're a new home sales rep, right? So I knew I was really good at open houses. So when I went back from the management side and I started to build my team again in 2019, I was kind of starting over. And so I thought about like, what do I want to do? What are ways that I can bring income in that focus on things that I do well?
Mm.
So what I did is because I didn't also really want to do an open house on a weekend, like
Mm.
every weekend, because I wanted to have some time with my kids. So I decided to create an open house via coffee shops.
Mm.
So I created this concept called Coffee with Kara. And I approached local coffee shops and I just said, hey, can I buy coffee for people that come in for a certain amount of time?
Mm.
And they said yes. And then I, later developed it and had some sponsors and all that. But I basically, worked with these coffee shops, and it was actually out of COVID because they were needing some
Mm,
help with getting local people back to their shops. I thought I could kind of create some marketing around it and help them. And then in addition, then anytime somebody came up and got a cup of coffee, they would just message. We had a little script and they would message, "Hey, Kara's right behind you. She's responsible for your coffee today. And so if you have any questions, she'll be here to talk about real estate or anything you need." Very simple,
mm,
right? One of my best clients who have probably done now, I don't even know, I'd have to total it up, 50 million plus in real estate volume, since 2019, like,
wow.
came from that, right?
Jeez.
So
Mm,
now not everyone was as successful,
yeah.
but what it did is it gave me a platform to be able to help support local coffee shops and coffee
Mm,
owners, to help people and make an impact in the community and bring a
mm,
little sunshine into people's day,
mm,
and also create a name for myself as somebody that was there to help promote the community and also, get into conversation with people. Because I
mm,
knew if I could get into conversation with people, then I had a pretty good chance of just learning more about them, of
mm,
helping them, helping their neighbor, helping their colleague,
mm.
whoever. So
Love that.
again, it doesn't so what I'm saying is, like, what are you good at? Like, if for that person that's thinking, well, I don't know, well,
Mm,
start thinking about things that you like to do. And then I'm a big journaler, but
mm,
when I journal, a lot of times I'll write at the top of a question for God.
mm,
I'll say, God, what would you have me do today?
mm,
What's one way that I could build my business that I'm not thinking of? Can you help bring me some inspiration? And then sometimes I just get it, I channel the message of
mm,
whatever I get. And
mm,
so that may or may not work for other people.
mm,
But I do believe that all of us have an innate intuitive gift, that we were all born with intuition, some with
mm,
higher levels of intuition than others.
mm,
But I think too often we think that it always has to be on us.
mm,
And I think that God is there to help us.
mm,
And not just, at church, but like in our business too, because that's our way to have impact in the community.
mm,
When you do it with that spirit, then I think that God wants to open up more
mm.
to us
Yeah.
when you're coming at it from the spirit of impact and help.
Mm, yeah. So good. And even I love the example of the coffee shop, right? Actually, I think you shared that maybe in 2021, who knows, when we had you
Oh,
on the show
yeah.
before, right? Years ago, right? And I've actually shared that with other people, and I love the idea, right? But what I love about it is when we're talking about a business that inspires us to our soul, what you've done in that scenario, right? Which anyone can do, is to say, what do I love to do? Right. And, how do I want to make an impact? And then how do I just give it a business purpose? I mean, it's almost that simple, right? It's like, this is what I love to do. I talk about my lead agent all the time, Jesse. He loves to fish. I don't know why. I don't. We just don't. I just don't. He just does. Like, that's the way the Lord made him. Okay. So how do we give that a business purpose, right? So he can make the kind of impact that he wants to make. You wanted to support these local businesses. That's amazing. How do we just give it a business purpose so you can go do it within your business and it makes sense, right? Like, it's okay that we want to use the things that we enjoy and are good at to grow our business. That's a good thing. The Lord
Yeah.
gave you that skill and that passion for a reason. And so when we are operating and saying, well, I don't want to, take my heart for whatever Habitat for Humanity and building homes for people. I don't want to use that for my business. Like, why? Bring people along. Don't make it
Yeah.
about you, but say, hey, to your database, hey, you guys may not know, but I volunteer for whatever, Habitat for Humanity, 3 Saturdays a month. I don't know, that's maybe a lot, but whatever. And anyone that wants to come, I'd love for you guys to come, right? Come join me. Let's
Yeah.
serve alongside each other. Let's buy people coffee and get into relationship, right? Let's just do the things that bring us joy and inspire us a little bit, as opposed to, no, you got to get on the phone. You got to cold call. You got to door knock. You got to do all these things. If that's burning you out, then stop, because it's going to make you show up terrible everywhere else. And then sit there, to Kara's point, and say, okay, who am I? What do I love to do? How did the Lord uniquely create me? And how do I use that to build a business, right? I think that's part of restoring that inspiration, right? Is to go counter to maybe what everybody tells you to do and
Yeah.
just say, hey, I really I had a super quick story because I want you to share about the book. But I'm teaching and a big group of agents, and then I'm sharing about affinity groups, right? Kind of the sort of similar idea, like, hey, what do you just love to do? How do we give that a business purpose, right? Now, I love your story, and like the largest agent there, right, had a huge team, and she was like, I don't know that I have anything. I kind of put her on the spot. I'm like, all right, why don't you, just tell us, what is it that you love to do? She's like, I don't want to say. I was like, well, then now you have to say, right? And she said, Garrett, I love crime podcasts and I love drinking wine. And I'm like, how many millions of moms do you think that applies to? Probably all of them, right? How
That's
could
right.
how easily you could just say, and it requires you to be honest, right? But how easily you could just say, hey, any local mom want to join me for a crime podcast and we're going to drink wine and hang out together? How many other people would love to be part of that, right? It's something
For
you love to
sure.
do. You give it, and you would feel so much more fulfilled by doing that than like, no, I'm going to get on the phones for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Right. It is these things the Lord uniquely inspired you to do. And so
Yeah.
that's awesome. And I love you said that, Kara, because tomorrow I'm planning out my next year. And so I'm going to be thinking about that. Right now,
Good.
mine needs to be donuts because, that's more me. And so maybe Krispy Kreme can help me out there. Right. We'll
There you
see.
go.
We'll see
You
what they
never
do.
know. We did
Not
do an
sure.
ice cream thing actually
Nice. Oh,
after,
did you? Okay.
we did do an ice cream, like another kind of, after school, let out. We did like free ice cream for the kids and,
Love
you
that.
know,
That's
so
cool.
there's just so many different ways to be creative. I love that you were just talking about wine. I was just talking to
Mhm.
another one of our team members and she actually has a background and she's a sommelier. And I was
Oh,
like, oh
wow.
my gosh, we are using this. We are going to do some kind of event, around like a wine pairing or
Awesome.
some type of special thing that she could do to share her gift. And,
Love that.
and I think that in this world where AI is, all the rage, and I'm all for using AI in ways that are going to create efficiency.
Mhm.
But I actually believe that it's creating opportunities for more human connection as
Mm.
well.
Mm.
And so I think it's like there's this balance of, using AI for efficiency, but then also like people can spot
Mm.
AI from a mile away sometimes if
Mm.
it's like all of your content. So I think there is a connection piece that I think when you are good at connecting with others, and I think the human connection piece, like that's where your
Mm.
best bang for your buck is always in connecting with people and allowing and when there's a shared connection, when there's a
Mm.
shared love for something, whether it's wine and crime
Mhm.
podcasts, and like who do you think that they're thinking of when they
Yeah.
think of real estate, because then you're somebody that has a shared connection with that person.
Mm.
And people remember the way, just like Maya Angelou always said, people remember, they don't remember what you say, they remember how you made them feel.
Mm.
And so I think AI is not going to replace that. And in fact,
Yeah.
it's going to make it more important
Yeah.
in our work
That's right.
to make sure that we're creating touch points where we can connect with humans,
Mm.
because that's what God intended us
It's good.
to be, our connectors for
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and it is, if you are feeling burnout or over your business, do something like that and see your passion come out in your business. Game changer, right? So, okay,
Yeah.
well, I want you to share about this book briefly. I know we
Yeah.
got to go, but okay, so
I
the
know.
book, you wrote a book in collaboration with others, which is super cool, called We Lead, Volume 3. It'll be in the show notes. Don't worry, everybody. You can go grab something specifically from Kara, but building connection, community, and collaboration for women in business. You told me pre-show the subtitle is so long that you had to go look it up, which is
I know.
fantastic, right? You wrote chapter 19, The Queen Within, 3 Truths to Reclaim Your Power in Business. Give me a super quick snapshot of it. And then how can people go find it or connect with you? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So thank you so much. So first off, I want to quickly share that this was actually I'm a big goal, manifest what you want,
Mhm.
let God know what the desires on your heart are, and He will provide. So I had last year around this time, I wrote my desires for 2025,
Mm.
one of which was to write a book. right? So then almost like halfway into the year, maybe, I thought, you know what? I'm never going to write the book. It's just not in the cards for 2025. It
Yeah.
is, I don't have any time. I'm like doing other things and it's probably not going to happen. Well, then I was approached to be part of this collaborative book. And I
Mm.
was like, oh my gosh, God did. You listened to the desire. Thank you, thank
That's
you,
cool.
thank you.
Awesome.
But it was so anyway, that's kind of a fun little story
Yeah.
for
That's
when
awesome.
you're creating your list of desires that you want
Mhm.
to create into next year.
Mm,
Don't underestimate his
mm.
power to
That's
provide.
right.
Uh,
Amen to that.
but the chapter came about because I do believe that there are three simple truths that if you can kind of understand these, then your business, you are kind of claiming that queen within, or
Mm,
for a man listening, that your own power within as
mm,
well. And that's really what it's about. And the truths are, I went into it, elaborate a little bit more on what that actually means in the chapter. But
mm,
number one is just kind of like we were talking about, that you were gifted with soul aligned gifts that are your abilities, your talents. God gave them to you.
mm,
And so our purpose, I believe, is really to figure out what those are and then live them.
mm,
Like live them out in your life and in your business. I
mm,
think when we are aligned more to those gifts, that worlds will open up for you. I've
mm,
seen it and I've lived it in my own life and business.
mm,
Number two is that I believe all of us are incredibly intuitive,
mm,
and I think that it is an underrated business skill.
mm,
And so I think that part of, again, a lot of people may say, oh, well, I'm not intuitive, but I think that it is a skill and a muscle that you can build. And I talk about a little bit more on that in the chapter.
mm,
Um, and then the third is that I think that our truest job. Our truest job, not selling homes, not building a large team, but the truest job is to just show up every day and make a difference,
mm,
make an impact. And so, if that's where your purpose goes first, the business will just magnify
mm,
by the nature of you showing up to make an impact in your clients' lives, in your community, when that's the goal. When the goal isn't like,
mm,
oh, I want a beach house. The
mhm,
beach house will come
mm,
because you're showing up every day to make a difference.
mm,
And then the more impact you make, the more the business magnifies, and then you have more abundance and more things. But right, but it starts from understanding that that's our truest job
mm.
more than anything else.
Yeah, I love that. It's so good. And I know you've got something that we're going to give to the audience, so grab that in the show notes, and that will be amazing, Kara. I mean, so many good things. I think I want them to go grab the book, but mostly I want them to connect with you. So, what's the
Yeah.
best way for them to do that? Right? I'm a huge advocate. Get on the email list. Right? If you like somebody, get on their email list and
Yeah.
stay connect with them that way. So, what's the best way for somebody to go do that?
So I would love to give a copy of the book to any of your listeners
Awesome.
I'd love to give you, I'll send you the book. Just email me at Kara, Kara at kcdrealestate.com.
Awesome.
So I'd be happy to, send it your way. And then there's also, you can get it's www.freegiftfromkara, that's Kara with a K,
Mm,
.com.
cool.
And I also have just a dynamic journal that I've used with a lot of the affirmations that I've used in building my business that have
Mm,
always helped me, and helped me reframe things that I wanted in terms of money, wealth, family, life. So
amazing.
those are for all of your listeners. And I just
Love
really
that.
appreciate the time. This was a
Yeah.
fun
No,
conversation.
absolutely. Yeah. No, 100%. We've been talking for a long time, agents. We'll have to have Kara back so we can have another hour pre-show. That was fantastic. But no, that's so good. And it's such a good reminder, right? If you feel like your business just is soul draining, not soul inspiring, listen to this again. Think of some of the things, utilize some of the things Kara talked about that will re-energize you, right? Literally, I'm going to do this tomorrow because there are things you just get away. You get in the monotony, the rote, I'm just doing this again. This is what I do. This is how we build. I got to do this. I got to do that. As opposed to I have unique skill sets. I have unique things I'm passionate about. How do I incorporate them? That's going to
Yeah.
fire me up again, right? Because the best way for you to show up to your family and your business is to do things that motivate you and fire you up. Not everything's going to do that. But if we purposefully avoid those, just say, I'm just going to do what the industry tells me to do, you're never going to fully come alive. And that's not good for anybody. And that's certainly not what the Lord wants either. Right. So,
Absolutely.
so many good points, Kara. I love it. Go grab. So in the show notes, guys, there'll be both of those links. You can email her as well, get a free signed copy. That's amazing. Thank you so much for that offer, Kara. You're awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. Faithful agents, we love you, and we will see you next week.